So just let's have a little review what I was telling you about concurrent and claims, and then we will see how about the assignment. The most common approach which I mentioned about concurrent claim is this, which is called the Malmaison approach. What it simply means is that if there are two overlapping periods of delay, one is due to the contractor's fault and one is due to employer's fault or some other reason which is not the contractor's fault, then the contractor's fault will be excused and he will get an EOT, but he will not be able to claim any additional costs. This is the most common approach followed all over the world. However, there are other approaches also which can be followed, which generally need a delay analysis expert, which cannot be done just like that, which needs a delay analysis experts generally. So the other approaches which are followed are dominant cause approach, which was the dominant cause which caused to the delay for the overlapping period. So therefore, you had a contractor delay 21st January to 25th February due to lack of skilled labor. At the same time, employer also orders a variation, which has an effect of delay of 14 days. Now, which is the most dominant cause or which is the cause having an impact on critical path? Then you may have apportion responsibility if you can somehow segregate, which is difficult thing to do, and see the significance of the factor. You have a but-for test, and you have the last one, which is exactly opposite of the first one, Malmaison approach, that if there is an overlapping period, then contractor will not be given EOT, which means the employer's fault will be excused. Not a very common thing, but definitely it is legal, it is implementable, it has happened in UK. And in our recent contract, which I'll show you, of Project Omkareshwara, where I was contract administrator, though I had recommended Malmaison approach, but at the end of the day, MP Tourism put the last one. So uh, all are equally okay. The first one and the last one are clear, where you don't need a delay analysis expert really. All you need to do is, of course, you need somebody who can find out the impact on critical path, but not really a delay analysis expert. But dominant cause, apportionment, but for you really need a little expert to implement do that. Now, what happens if we do not write anything, which is what happens in most cases? That in most contracts you do not mention anything about concurrent delay. So in that case, then the chances of going into arbitration and dispute are very, very bright. And what happens in that case, unfortunately, since in India, our arbitrators are not too clued up about how to handle concurrent delay. So what happens is you get decisions like this. These are all arbitration decisions, which were, of course, upheld by courts because courts generally do not interfere too much with the arbitration decision. So you have IRCON versus CRSAN, where there was a delay of receipt of drawings, which IRCON had to give, and there was delay due to the other things. So court said neither black and white, difficult to apportion, I gave 50% to each. So obviously, when you give 50% to each, one of the parties definitely wronged. One of the parties definitely wronged. Now, this was the not the court judgment. This was actually an arbitration judgment which the court upheld. I do not think anywhere in the world an arbitrator would ever give it a judgment like this who has some knowledge. But unfortunately, in India, our arbitrators are not so clued up, and we do not have arbitrators who are, specialized in construction issues. There are many CPWD officers, others, but these are things which we are slowly gaining knowledge. Now, of course, you have delay analysis firms coming up in India and so on. Similarly, Ambika Construction, same. 25 months. So judgment of arbitrator upheld by court, 12.5 months. UI versus CNC Construction. Here, arbitrator used a common sense approach. Oh, it looks like the agency, the Union of India, has a little more in fault. So 60-40. So our arbitrators take a gut approach, gut feeling approach, things like that, which is not correct. And most of the times, uh, arbitrators are a little reluctant to call delay analysis experts. Whereas if you go to Dubai, now the courts have in Dubai have actually made it mandatory that before they decide on any claim or EOT, they will services of a report of a delay analysis expert is mandatory. It's almost become compulsory. So in India, it's slowly picking up. So the main point is that if you do not add a clause on concurrency, overlapping delays, you will land up in situations like this, which definitely will benefit one party and which will be unfair to one party. These kind of decisions are not definitely fair to both parties. So that was the whole aim, that you must add some clause as per your wisdom. I would recommend adding a clause of malmaison approach. But if you have an employer, like I found with MP Tourism, who is a little chary of audit and doesn't want to give anything to the contractor, then you add the clause of side and homes approach. That contractor will get nothing. Or you can even add a clause, if required, that if there is a problem, if there is a dispute, difference of opinion, and concurrent delay, then both the parties agree to utilize the services of a delay analysis expert whose cost will be shared equally between both parties. You can obviously do that in bigger contracts. Can't do it in small contracts. So I'm talking of primarily bigger contracts where such disputes count quite a lot. So NHAI contracts, for example.